welcome to another episode of Whiskey Sour Libations and Conversations. I'm your host, Dom, and we have a special guest here, a first timer. First timer. This is my amazing friend, Tavishya White from Great. It's crazy how long we've been friends. I've known her since before college, for real, because
Really?
Yeah. I met you a little bit before I started Webster. You were already at Webster, but I met you through Sinead, Rachel and Sinead, and so that was prior. So I knew y'all when I got there, and then apparently you was already graduated, which I didn't know. No, I did not know that.
Okay.
Or no, were you? I think, or maybe you was in your last year.
Yeah.
I never knew that. I thought we were all like
In the same.
Like the same age, like close.
I mean, we are.
I mean, we're the same age, but like 2 years, because Rachel and Antoinette and Brian are all 2 years older than me. So I just assumed you was in that class, and then it just didn't click when I went to that graduation either.
I mean, I think we're all the same age, but it's like I started school early, so they're probably a grade behind me, just because of that whole, like, my birthday's in September, so
okay,
the whole thing.
So you smart, like I said early.
Oh, we gonna talk about that too. I was like,
wait,
I mean, I am. But sometimes when you get diagnosed with ADHD later in life, you be like, all those years, all those educational years, I could have performed better had I known. I knew something was wrong. I just didn't know what.
So, okay. And I want you to speak up a little louder.
Oh, okay.
You're in your normal tone.
I am.
I can't hear you regular.
Oh, man.
Okay. So yes, you shared with me recently that you have been diagnosed with ADHD. And I was like, oh my God, I just was going to tell my doctor to get me tested because something just don't seem right. I'm having a hard time in certain areas. But honestly, like, when you got that diagnosis, like, how did it make you feel? Like, did just life make sense? Or, because some people are like, oh my God, I can't believe this is me. And I'm like, at least you know what the fuck is wrong with you. At least you took the time. So how did that make you feel?
First of all, thank you for having me. Appreciate you. I've seen other friends get on, and I'm like, ooh, like, I mean, I knew it was coming, but you also have a lot of friends. So
okay, so you said, okay, no, circle back to what I just asked you. Focus.
Okay, so diagnosis. Diagnosis. I was very relieved when I found out I had moderate ADHD. I don't have the high functioning kind. Okay. Girl, I was just like, praise the Lord, I have answers. Because no, for real, because I was like, I have always known that it takes me so long to learn new things, and immediately I'm frustrated. Okay. Immediately, I learn the thing and then I forget. So I'm just like, what is this? It shouldn't be this hard. I'm seeing my peers get it right away, and we all struggle with some subjects,
right?
Math, reading, science, spelling and math were I just couldn't get it.
Really?
I took algebra 4 times.
Okay, wait, hold on. In high school or in college?
Okay, so we started algebra in middle school.
Same, yes.
So I think it was maybe 7th grade.
Oh, see, okay, so that's really a bit. I started in the 8th grade. So really? I took algebra in the 8th grade. So then when I went to high school, when I went to Lindbergh my freshman year, I took geometry.
Yeah.
So I still felt like a little bit how you felt. I always kind of felt like that in math. And I just was like, in geometry, I'm like, I know this stuff. Why is it coming hard? So I dropped it, and then I took algebra again. And aced it like no problem. I'm like, so what is it? I'm like, is it me or is it the teacher? Right?
Let's not blame the teacher, because it do be the teacher.
Like, sometimes it's the teacher, and then it was only me and this other black girl. Shout out to Sinead, Midget. But we were the only like black people in this class, and I'm like, why? Like, and I don't know if she ever dropped it, but I was trying to stick it out. I was really trying to.
I'm not a quitter.
And I was like, all right, this might not be my shush, but I feel like as an adult, spelling has become like weird for me. The other day, me and Greg Tussle trying to spell violet. Yeah, but it was like, he wrote it on the board, and I was like, what is he about to write? And then he was like, how do you spell violet? And I was like, vi. But then I was like, oh yeah, I said, so violet. Like, and it'd be like bored. And I also kind of feel like as adults, like, I'm like, shit, like, am I moving too fast? Because that word, when I just read that was what that was, and I've been feeling like dyslexia and all of that.
Well, that's the thing about ADD, ADHD is classified in the same category.
Okay.
And oftentimes, people with it have other mental health issues.
Okay.
Now, when I say mental health, they don't mean you're crazy. I mean, I'm crazy a little bit, but it doesn't mean that you're crazy. You know, I think we're all crazy. To do life, I think we all have to be a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
Like a little bit. Like whether you let it show is a thing, but a little bit crazy.
Does that help you sleep at night, friend?
It do.
Okay.
But yeah, I was just like, okay, so when I got diagnosed, I sat with a psychiatrist and she went over, took a survey, it was 12 pages, very thorough, like went back to my mom's pregnancy, like did she have difficulty? Did I hit all my milestones when I was born? Was I a friendly baby? What were my grades like in elementary school, middle school, high school? Did they improve or did they stay the same? Like all kind of stuff. Like I had to call her and be like, Mom, can you tell me about when I was a toddler? I was like, can you tell me when I was a toddler, how was I? Because in my mind, I was a crybaby. You couldn't hold me.
Really?
I was so stressed. I remember crying a lot because I was so overwhelmed with situations.
See, well, you as long as you know me, I've always tussled. So, for sure. Like I was always, but I always just kind of equated it to just kind of being like an artsy kid, though, because like they always say, like, because you're creative too, and so I thought when you would read stories about different people like Michelangelo cutting his ear off and all that, I was like, oh, this is the norm. Like they say like creatives are messy and all this stuff. Now I can't function.
Right. No, hey,
you and me both. Can't do that. Yep. Like I told you,
hey, when I first a friend that I moved in with recently, actually current roommate, when I learned a lot about myself just being out here. I've been out here 15 years and I learned so much. And one of the things I learned was boundaries. That is a new thing. I have just learned this thing, like just what it meant and what it looks like.
Yeah.
And I used to like clean his room. He was like, "Why are you in my room?" And I'm like, "It's dirty. I gotta clean it. I can't live like this." He was like, "But you don't live in here. You have your own space." And I can hear. Right? You hear what I'm saying? He was like, "It's time." And I was just like, "Oh, okay." And
I've only done that once. And that was when I had that one roommate, that one guy. Yep. But he had my dishes in there. So like, and then he never had a bit. Like, how do niggas do shit like that? See, that's ADHD. Mm-hmm. But still, like, I was like, okay, well, I bugs. But yeah,
in my mind, something was growing in there.
See, that's how I feel.
And I was just like,
I could smell it. So that's why.
I will say there was not a smell.
Yeah, it was a smell.
It was a visual thing. I would look in there casually and be like, wow, this is fancy.
Okay, I just had to make sure I had the mic on. Because I was like, oh shit, I had muted something. And then I made sure. It's on.
Yeah. So yeah, I just learned a lot about myself. I feel like my relationships with my parents improved, my siblings improved. And yeah, just moving away from home, man. I want everyone to have that experience because that blanket of just you.
Some people, and you said 15 years. I've been here 13, and so I think, and I had never lived on my own prior to that. I moved out of my mom's house, moved out here. Yep. So it was a level of okay. Now I'm kind of forced into adulthood
overnight,
and it was like game changing. I wasn't even really scared. I was so excited. I remember feeling so fearless when I came here.
I'm going to agree with you on that. Okay. Because I feel like I'm talking like really, really white right now. Maybe this is how I talk. But I'm going to agree with you because I remember when you moved out here and I remember how eager you were, how flexible you were. You was like, I don't care because just like being like you had got a job before.
Well, I had a job. Listen. I had a game plan, and when I don't know, I think
you just put everything in place. Like you legit did the work.
But I tell people, I told to here, I said, look, I knew I was moving to LA when the summer of freshman year of high school. I said I went to New York that summer. I came to LA that summer, and I was actually in New York a couple of weeks before 9/11 happened. And so we have pictures of the towers and everything, and from the Statue of Liberty. And so it was really crazy because I was like, okay, this will tell me what the next step is. Am I going to move to New York? Am I moving to LA? Baby, a New York summer was like St. Louis, and I was not
right.
Not interested.
By the water, it blew my mind.
I was like, girl, I was like,
nobody told me.
Did it, done it, don't have to do it no more. And so I had my sights set on LA. And so I don't know, like it was just weird now, like everything that happened, and I think I got really comfortable too fast.
In LA?
In LA. And what I mean by that, and I'm still learning LA, but what I mean comfortable, it was just like, okay, I had this job. It was, like pretty solid pay. And I made friends like right away, like, and it was, I felt like I lost that drive a little bit because I was and not that complacency is like a bad thing, but I was just like cool at the moment, and I wasn't going hard. Like Jeff and I met Jeff, my brother, at Nordstrom, and he worked in men's, and we just hit it off like right away, where we was just instantly became siblings. And Jeff and I was
literally. It's not joking. Not siblings, right? Like that's like who's Jeff? That's her brother.
Yeah, and it's perfect because like his mom kind of became like when she would come out, she was like a second mom, like making sure you got food, making sure you got this. Even still, Jackie's still like that to this day. And we went to a casting together for like an agency, and they immediately was like, no. And they told Jeff, come back, like, and was kind of telling him to, I don't know if it was like to be just a little more toned or something, but Jeff kept going. I was like, shit, this isn't somebody else. So it'll be somebody else that tell me yes. And Jeff was like, when you came all made up, you got to come now. I'm like, yeah. And then Jeff kept going.
Wait, so you can't come made up to an audition?
Yeah, no. Not to like a modeling agency, nothing like that. They want to see what they can do. They want to look at you like kind of like a
bare bones.
Yeah. So I did. I came like lamb up. I looked good.
I mean,
but thank you for it. But ultimately, I just was like, oh, okay. So I kind of lost sight of what my goals were, because like even like think about it, like you bought me that acting class with Roma, and we signed for. By the way, I kind of my feelings that y'all went to her book signing, and it's like, but it's okay.
That's a different person.
Whoops.
That's the Mona. Roma as a Rhoda, but you are silly. Silly. I would have totally invited her. But she don't live here no more. She live in New York.
Oh, we'll see. But is she doing comedy? Because everybody lives in New York.
No.
Oh, okay.
I think she retired. Actually, I haven't seen her
much. Okay.
I mean, but she put in. She been working some time.
Okay. But ultimately, like, you have bought me those classes, and then I never got around to it. And Roma was like, "I was just refunding you."
She did.
I felt so bad. I'm like, but that's the thing. It's just like getting in your head.
Where was your mind during that time,
girl? Listen, them years are a blur.
Oh man, the whole time,
girl. It's years. Like people tell me stuff. I said, "What?"
I remember. How old are you now?
Don't do that.
Okay. I remember. What was the year of the party bus?
Shit, I think it's 25.
Okay, I was gonna say 30, but
so it was like, go ahead, and then I'll tell you something funny about that.
That year when she had a party bus, and party buses were like popular back then, so I think it was my first time experiencing one. Epic. It was so epic. It was like 5 niggas in the room spending the night on her floor, on her couch, on her bed, me included. And not even like a drunken night, like just being like, I'm too tired to go home. Like look, we here now.
One thing I'm gonna do is I'm a party.
You were. She
So
did.
I think that's what
And it was a good group of people
It
too.
was a good
Like
group.
everybody got along. When nobody, we had and we saw like T.I. that night. We saw all the places. I will never forget that night. That was one of my memorable LA moments. And I just remember everyone before they get on the bus, you know, you got to pay the driver before you leave. I had everybody's money like in my bra. I was like $35, whatever it was. I was like $35, so everybody's like handing me money, and I had like this stack of money, and I was like, "What am I supposed to do?" And I'm just hold on to it. I was like, "All right, cool."
Have you imagined, like, had you lost that, like, it's
yes.
So what's funny even about that bus? My homeboy Joe, we all clearly, like, the majority of people on that bus, we all worked at Nordstrom.
Okay.
A couple of us that did it, and that night. So Joe hooked me up because his homeboy had like the plug and all of that stuff to make sure we got into trays and all of that stuff.
Oh, okay.
And years later, I would find out that is my coworker, this guy Brett. And Brett was like, "I met you before," and I was like, "When did you meet me?" And he was like, "Yeah, so I was the white guy that you linked up with to get the deposit for the party bus." And I was like, "Yo, shit!" Like it was so crazy. And I'm like, I have to pay attention to people more, or is it that people should be more memorable? But I know that's kind of bitchy to say, but it's like true. But also, I want to share a funny story with you about that night.
Okay.
I might have left my own party.
You what?
I might have left my own party.
You did.
Yeah.
You left us in your house.
No. I left y'all at the club.
You did?
Yes, I left y'all at the club.
There was so many people around.
So I left y'all at the club.
Which one?
Trace.
Okay.
So I went down the street because it was Grammy weekend.
Okay.
And I went down the street to Playhouse because I knew that's where like the niggas would be at. And I went there. I was a girlfriend that I think I might have met her from Jay. And so we snuck out and we hopped in the cab and just went up the street. We was like, okay, this is the time frame. We got like 45 minutes. I knew the dude at the door. He got a seat.
Oh, wow. Wait, 45 minutes to get back?
No, this is our time. Because then we didn't want to like look like we was missing or anything.
Trays? Are you kidding me?
So, I didn't know. And then, so we went. And then we came back, but by the time, like, we lost track of time. So by the time we came back, Trace wouldn't let me back in. But I get there, and there's all this other chaos that's happening downstairs at the door.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, my friend Adam, because I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Why is Liz crying? Like, why is Jackie picking her up? Jackie, why didn't you come? So it was like all this stuff. So I'm trying to diffuse, like, and Adam literally is like, Dominique, I cannot do this. I don't have time for this. Like, I need all that extra. And I'm like, I walked into the mess. It wasn't me. So yeah, that was a funny night. I'm glad that's one of your good LA memories.
No, it was great. It was a really good night. I just remember having a lot of fun. I am one of those people that love to go dancing but can't dance. I was just like, I just be moving. I start off as a wallflower, and then I'll be like, all right, I'll dance, and I dance. When my song come on, and then I only have like a few songs that I like that I still like. I'm like, man, it's such a good night. That's all I need for a good night. Like a good song, a good group of people.
That's always how it starts, right? Like that's always how it starts. So I want to talk about, I'm gonna reel it in a little bit,
Please do.
You also have a podcast.
I do.
And it's called Church Hurt with Tavishya. Is it Tavishya White or just Tavishya?
I only go by my first name. I'm trying to be, the Queen Latifah, the Beyonce, first name.
But Queen Latifah is too.
I know.
Okay.
But I mean, it's Queen, but the name is Latifah, so so to me, it's one name.
Well, it's
two. Right. But I mean, I always like the fact that my name is unique enough.
Okay.
Then I started finding all these other Tavishyas.
There's more than one.
There's so many.
Oh,
they spell it differently.
Okay.
They spell it without the Y.
Okay.
And my mom, she's, praise the Lord, very creative. So she had that Y in there, and people would be like, Tavishya. And I'm like, nope. just ignore the Y. Say it.
Yes,
it's
silent.
It's silent. Why it's silent?
So I want to talk about. Okay, so give us like the premise of your show.
So my podcast is about people, well, church hurt in general, but also people who have experienced that and want to talk about it.
Okay.
In like a safe space, and hopefully come to some kind of reconciliation.
Okay.
So that they can not move past it, but kind of like heal from it. But also, you can't heal from something you're not talking about.
Okay. So tell people what the concept of church hurt means. Like, I mean, is it self-explanatory for some people, or it goes deeper than like?
It's so layered. Church hurt is when somebody that represents the body of Christ, like that claims to be a Christian, and I'm sure it happens in other religions, Buddhism, Muslim, all those other different kinds of religion. But people always do, like people who follow Jesus, like you're the church. So people speak of other religions, they usually say the religion. And then church is like, oh no, it's you Christians, y'all. So, but yeah, if somebody, whether it be a leader or just a member, does something hurtful and is dismissive of how you feel about a situation, so some of the most common things is people be talking to them crazy, or church people not taking responsibility for pain that they've caused because they do it in the name of the Lord. Like, you're not a thug for Christ. You are following him, and you're supposed to lead by example. And doing that doesn't convey like the message that I feel like Christ came here to give us. Okay. You can then share with other people.
Okay, that's definitely, like you said, like so many layers. Because I'm hearing certain little jokes or certain things that would happen in church, and we all have our experience. So, what led you? What could you give us a little bit without making it? Because people need to go listen to your podcast. So don't give us all the tea. But like, lead us down a little bit of your church hurt.
Oh, I talk about my church hurt a lot on the show, but lately I've been talking about other people's church hurt. But my church hurt stems from just having leaders who weren't leading by example, and having leaders who, it's like when you talk, people. Leaders who don't want to, I guess, if you're following Jesus, you should do things like Jesus did. Everybody knows Jesus was kind, he was sin free, he died for our sins, all that good stuff. But are you living like he did? It'd be like, most people would be like, well, I'm trying. And I'd be like, in what way are you trying? Because one of the ways you're trying is forgiveness, and also not being the cause of someone not wanting to have a relationship with God. That is huge, because people turn from God because they're like, well, you treated me bad. And if that's what God is, I don't want it. Yeah. So my experience specifically was, I mean, I could tell you a story about one of the members, one of the leaders, one of the ministers at my church, and I believe he still ministers there. He was like, kind of like sexually like harassing some of my peers, like teenage girls.
Honestly, I don't even know I did that because I'm not even shocked. Does this start in St. Louis?
This starts in St. Louis.
Okay.
It starts in St. Louis. Okay. And some of my friends will come to me, and you know, for some reason, predators always know who to prey on.
Yeah, always.
They just instinctively know.
It's just like dating, and so that's why we'll get there.
So my friends would be like, oh, he don't, you know, he took my bra strap, and I was walking by, he took my bra strap and flicked. Okay, that's a lie. I was like, church, he was like, yeah, like, or he'll like do like if you have a nice dress on, it's not, oh, you have a nice dress on, oh, you look nice in that dress. It's like with the look associated with it. So it's not just words, it's look, it's body language, it's being favored in certain spaces. And I was just like, man, like looking at that, I was just like, this ain't right. This can't be what God intended for the church to look like.
Right.
So, and that was just my experience as a teenager. As an adult, most of it comes from people who have authority. It might be the pastor, it might be the pastor's wife, it might be the kids of the pastor, or even maybe a deacon or something, being mean about situations. For example, I talk about one of the episodes on my podcast, the guy who's in charge of my church is a very creative. My old church is a very creative church. It's called the Living Room. And
don't you start that shit.
What? What?
I'm moving this stuff so you get the front too. I could have paused that, but I'm like, I'm not doing it. Okay.
No, I'm not gonna say nothing.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say something crazy. I'm like, okay.
I had crazy things on your podcast.
Okay, yes, you had. Okay. I was like, no, I ain't doing
But this is what you trying to lie. This is what you trying to lie. We have limits now. We reached the limit.
Because I was like, oh no, I was going there with you. Well, what happened?
No, this is a decent story.
Okay.
So basically, I was working on a show, LGBT show called Lovers and Friends. I believe it's streaming somewhere. The producers came with me to see the space. My pastor rents out the space all the time for events, for speaking, for all different kinds of stuff.
Okay.
So they were like, I said, oh, we got this little office scene, kids being adopted or something. I was like, we can probably shoot that at my church. And because I had used my church, I paid to use my church space before I was a member there.
Okay.
So I was just like, this shouldn't be a problem because now I'm a member and they're not, but I'm using it through my connection.
Yeah.
Girl, we got up there. We were looking at the space. It was right before church started. The deacon, we call on my podcast, we call him Deacon Flowers. Oh, and he was like, who are these people? What do you need? I said, we need this space on this day at this time because, student schedule is tight. So you can't be like, oh, sorry, we can't accommodate you last minute because then it changes everything. So he was just like, oh, okay, well, fill out this form because we were trying to be more organized. He's like, fill out this form. And it was never like a denial. It was more like, oh, we can't accommodate you. I was just like, I've already been accommodated. So why can't you do this time? What is specific about this situation that you couldn't accommodate us? And he was just like, well, we don't really know them. I said, but you know me. And I also have used the space to shoot at before.
Yeah,
so what's the problem?
Super Bowl commercial at your church. Yeah.
So what's the problem? Well, we're just using the space for only church events. I said, who did you hear that from? Where is this coming from? Because on the sheet, it doesn't say that. Is this a church event? I put no, but it doesn't say, oh, you will be denied because, is it like, why are you asking me if it doesn't matter? Because I know, like a friend of mine, she's like a stylist and she was like, she styled me for Darren's thing. She was like, she used it as like what's the thing called? Like a high-end thrift store.
Okay.
And she brought all these clothes and people were able to shop and stuff like that. I think she donated money to something. And I was just like, so she can have a store here, but I can't shoot a short film here? He was just like, well, that was, in the past and, moving forward. I'm like, nah, now I feel like you're making stuff up. What's the real reason?
Right.
And I couldn't help but to think it's because my partners were LGBT. He, on top of him not knowing them or having no relationship with them. So it's not like, oh, you got like, I'm sure everyone has a gay person in their life. But it was them being not members of the church and also literally strangers.
Okay.
And I was just like, but that's not a prerequisite for the church space being used. Like you give us a price, we get insurance, and we pay.
Yeah.
And he was just like, well, we don't have anyone to open it up. I said, so what's the real reason? Do you have no one to open up? Do you not want to do it in the first place? Like, what's the real reason?
Yeah, just stop being around the bush. Just tell me like it is because I'm getting pissed off.
At this point. So what happened was I moved forward thinking that I had the space because before, that's the process.
Right.
We get to maybe the day before and he's like, oh, I can't find anyone to open it. We're not going to do, moving forward, we're not doing anything that's not church event, church sponsored event. And I was just like, so you're going to tell me this today? And it shoots tomorrow. Right. Okay. Lucky for me, our friend Jimmy came through and he got us another space that we could use that we ended up using. But I was just like, what was that about?
I mean, he just should have said what it was.
He should have
said what it was.
And I was just like, and then I talked to my pastor after that, and I was just like, I heard about the situation with, wanting to use the space, which you've used before, which he said.
Yeah.
And then he was just like, I honestly don't know what happened. I didn't know about it until after it happened. I wish you would have just come to me.
Yeah.
But at that time, we were trying to do things so everyone doesn't have to go to the pastor about every little thing. You have people who work under you. Let them handle it.
Right.
And then he just handled it poorly.
Yeah.
But for me, it was hurtful because I was just like, you couldn't even give me a real reason why we couldn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like I said, like people pick and choose how they want to accept or not accept certain things. And like I said, I don't think it had anything to do with the fact that they were not members. I don't think it had anything to do with the fact that it wasn't even, y'all didn't even ask like last minute. It had everything to do with them being gay. Like that's
what you said out loud.
Like literally, like that's just what it is. But you know, as far as like Christianity goes, there's this. I think that some churches are becoming like more open. Yes. But you still have a lot of people that are heavily like. Let's just keep it above. The Bible is, though it's supposed to be the word, it's still written by men, and there were women that were involved. Don't want to say that. So it's a very patriarchal view of life in society and how things are supposed to be. And like we said, like each person, we all can have the same verse. And if it's 3 people in this room, each person can interpret that verse completely different. And so this line, there's nothing in the Bible that really says that there's nothing wrong with that. We just think that because of certain things, and you know how we were taught, because think about it, for a long time, like when we were forced to take on Christianity and all this stuff as we were enslaved, like these people are dictating things to us. So I always tell people that have a problem with different things, okay, all I know is that God is love. So if we all have the God in me, if we all have God in us, how come you're not leading with love?
No, you're 100% right. That's what Jesus did too. He died because he loved us.
Correct.
And I was.
So my question to you is, going forward after the room, like how was that? What changed for you, or like what was the turning point for you because you no longer attended?
Well, the church kind of went away on its own.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's a whole nother podcast.
Oh, see, I know all this stuff changed with church is doing like lockdown and all that stuff.
Right around.
So I wasn't sure if it was necessarily that or.
I think that had a lot to do with it. People start coming less and less, and then the congregation became the praise team.
Oh, shit.
And it was like the praise team, the sound guy, and the usher.
Oh,
so that was. It got really, really, really ski. Like no one's. I mean,
yes. We in the middle, we say ski as small. I just want to be clear. Yeah. Like we use that word for small, not literal jizz.
Thank you.
Yes.
For clear.
Yes. Okay. Oh, wait. That was a thing when I moved here because I said ski to somebody and they were offended, and I was like, "Yeah, it's ski." And then I pulled the shirt and they're looking to see, and I was like, "Girl, your shirt is small."
Back to what you said. So yeah, the church was definitely it went away. There's still an online presence on like social media here and there.
Okay.
But the church itself, my pastor moved out of the city somewhere else. It was a rough time for him and his family. But it was I think they're in a better position now. And I think he's actually gonna start like having more of an online presence, but then it was just all I saw was it just breaking down. I didn't know the reason behind it when it was happening, but it was revealed over time later. But back to what you were talking about as far as like what the Bible says, and you know, slavery is written by man. I believe that the Bible is true, and all the crazy stuff that it says, because I don't believe I can believe a part of it. I have to believe the whole thing. So in reference to the Bible and just people in general, do you believe that Jesus died for your sins? Do you believe that he's the Son of God? Do you believe that he rose from the dead? And if you believe those things in your heart, then you will be saved. So nobody walked this earth sin free except for Jesus. So we don't have to.
And that could be controversial. That could be a controversial.
No, statement. It could be.
It could.
But
don't forget that he was still human. Like
he was, yes,
he was still human.
Yes.
And
as a man.
and I'm just here, like we have. That's why I'm here to challenge you.
No,
we're challenge each
here,
other.
we're here.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying like, oh, what I'm saying is but just
not at all.
Conversation.
Not at all.
A lot of people in the recent years have been disputing that.
Yes.
And whether or not he was intimate with Mary Magdalene or not. So they say they got. I'm like, listen. Okay.
No, I mean, like everyone has their theology, but it comes down to believing. Okay. Either you're going to believe it or you're not.
Okay.
And I believe it, so that's why I'm walking the way I'm walking, and I do try to. And this is another thing that happens in my Church Hurt podcast. Try to clear up misconceptions about what people think the Bible is or how they understand different scripture, what it means and what it's supposed to. Because we're talking like dissecting the scripture, not just reading one line, but reading the chapter and who wrote the book and like all those things. So, but like I said, the core value is: do you believe in Jesus? Do you believe he died? Do you believe the Son of God? If you believe those things, you will be saved. Right. And that's really all that's required. And God is love, and I'm glad you said that, because that's one of the most important components. Like, do you love God? Do you recognize his Son as God? And then you just move forward in that. Everything else comes through the Holy Spirit. I can't make you believe what I believe, but I can just say, I disagree, and this is why, and I agree, and this is why.
Right.
So just moving forward, I wish that situation with the deacon would have been more like, honestly, Tavishya, I have an issue with the people that you brought around. I don't know them. I don't know their character. So assuming.
But no, what he should have said to you is that my beliefs and what I know, your friends are seeing.
They're sinners.
Yeah. And so, and I don't believe that about anybody. Like sexual preference or anything, like that's my personal take, because like I said, I'm leading with love. Like that is what I'm supposed to do, right? I'm not passing judgment on you, I'm not damning you to hell. I don't have the authority to do that. So what he should have said was, my personal beliefs is this, and I don't feel comfortable. So then he knew it would have been escalated to y'all pastor, and y'all pastor still would have let y'all do.
Right. In the end.
I was like, pretty much remember how he was, and I feel like he still would have went through with it. But like a lot of people do things for their own personal gain and view all the time, like, no matter how you try.
And that's where we fall short. That's where we suck at not leading with Christ, because Christ wants you to be in the fold. Mm-hmm. Inviting them to our church space would have been an opportunity for us to show them the love of God. Now, I do believe that they do believe in God, just knowing them personally. But are they saved? I don't know. But were we trying to save them before they left the church? No. But I wanted their experience to be more pleasant and to be more positive. Yeah. And that's not what they're experiencing. Because I would have to come to them and be like, my church said no. They were like, but we already moved forward with. We did things, got the contract, got the insurance, and I was like, understand, we did everything we were supposed to do, but they didn't do their part.
Yeah.
And I wish their experience was different, because who knows where that could have led them.
Yeah.
But just like because there's a church here. It's called, I believe, Metro Community Church. It's MCC abbreviation, and it's a church for LGBT people, which I've been to. Did you come with us when we went?
Girl, last church I went to was City Church. Judas Smith.
Oh. Well, it's a LGBT church in Hollywood.
Wait, no.
It's a Silver Lake.
Yes, I did.
So
look at me thinking about my Jesus. I got so many Jesus, like church stories. It's like going up a church, telling people, like, so people know, like, my history. I don't want to deter from what we're talking about. I grew up in church, Baptist church, Christian, just like you, Southern Baptist. I'm not gonna say Southern Baptist, but like
it was pretty Southern.
Teetering. No, our church was a little bougie though.
Was it?
Yeah. Like, people think that Antioch is very like at least at that time, uppity, because it was 5 people that go there now. Mm-hmm. None of my business. That goes back to church. But the ultimate, and I'm not going to say church hurt. I'm going to say, because I'm not going to say that the church hurt me per se. I would say that I was always a realist about a lot of shit, and always could have like foresight of what was happening. Now I would be like, yo, that's hell fucked up, but they don't have nothing to do with me. So I growing up in this church, it's a historical landmark in St. Louis, and in a historical neighborhood of the Ville, you have Cedric the Entertainer, Tina Turner, all these amazing people in this area, and we had a puppet ministry. So we would travel all over the country. So like I said, been in so many churches, spreading the word of God through puppets. And it was, I have lifelong friendships from this, ministry. And ultimately it would, like that puppet ministry, like never like really tainted my view on like for anything. I think as you got older and like, you grow up, and as adults sometimes like the fairy tale you realize like is not the reality of the situation. So you start to see. And so a lot of adultery happening in my church. Now I don't know nobody to pop nobody bra or anything like that I'm aware of. So I don't want to take away from anybody's experiences. That's just how I was like, shit. Have I kissed somebody in church by the way? Absolutely. But ultimately, I remember there was a situation that happened where all this money came up missing, and they brought in like a manuscript, yeah. And when they were looking at the checks and doing all of this stuff, they found out that whoever was writing it's just like it's one person, it's the same, like. Though the signatures look different, it's coming from the same person. And so ultimately they figured out who did it. And all I know is that person got an award in front of the church. This person also, I know at one point that I know they lost their law license, but that was prior to that. And so it was like just shady stuff. And I was just like, well, so how you getting a plaque for something in your service and you stole the money. Like, you stole the money. And I think that, and it's just always, like, from what I've seen, like, and it's just so many different scenarios that happen. I just be like, yo, like.
Who wants to learn about God in a space like that?
But see, here's the crazy thing, because I just even recently watched the documentary. Oh, you gotta watch it. Fucking
Hillsong?
Yeah. So let's talk about Carl Lentz. Listen, I ain't gonna sit up here and like this motherfucker. Like Carl Lentz is so attractive for a white guy, right? Like, so he was charismatic. What? Yeah. Okay. But we'll talk about it. But what we saw, what was happening with sometimes like some churches, because I'm not gonna say all of them are like that. But I was like, oh, this is atypical behavior. And I wasn't triggered. I just was like, or maybe I was a little bit. I don't know, like just be like when it came down to like how like much money was coming through there. And I always just get frustrated because yes, you want us to tithe, you want us to do this, but you know it's somebody in your congregation whose lights are about to get cut off and evicted, and we gonna send them prayers. Okay, yeah, we can pray for them. We can pray that they figure out a way to not let this happen again. But in the meantime, you should be looking out for them. And I would say one thing that I really enjoyed, like because I kind of started fading out of my church when I left St. Louis. I was going to Friendly Temple, and so Friendly Temple kind of really got it. They got it. They see Friendly Temple, like they had.
I think I got some family that goes there.
I mean, they have like if you need housing, like they had like a senior citizen home, they did all of this stuff, like putting back into that neighborhood, that block of like that stretch of land that they had. They just got it, and you felt welcome to be there. It was just, it felt overall good. You know, some people I'm big on energy when I walk into places, when I shake your hand, like, ugh, like, you know what I mean? But just it was something about them that they just really got it and understood what their journey was about. But, you know, even coming here, you know, because, you know, we're Black, and your mama's like, you know, find a good church home and blah, blah. I watched those sitting on TV. But
you were going to like what church?
I ended up going to, yeah, and we can have that conversation offline too.
Well, this is the one I remember you going to.
No. I went for a long period of time, and then once they moved to La Brea and would take on the name of the Potter's House and all of these different things, the Potter House at one church, things just changed because have you ever been swallowed? Like
That's
girl, that's all I can think about. It's just like all this scandal with that shit. That's all. It's
I just recently heard. I didn't know that was happening. You knew that was happening. Okay.
So we are gonna go back to you.
Okay, sure. Well, I just wanted to say, since we're circling back, if you're LGBT and you don't have a church home, try MCC. That's in Silver Lake, Hollywood area. It's really, really friendly. They feed you. I always love the MCC.
Okay, please.
MCC feeds you. But they're super friendly, and I feel like what they preach is the word of God. Because actually, I'm not saying it like, I think I went there, and that's what they preach.
Okay, so so how did you, from the living room, because like your journey is like complete, like 180, like it just takes a different turn, and how did you end up where you are right now? Like where you don't have to tell,
like spiritually?
Yes, like within the church and everything too. Because I asked some questions.
Oh yeah. So I grew up in the church, St. Louis, moved out here, was looking for a church for like years, but never committing to like being like, this my church. Like, and I never claimed the church as a living room. Yeah. But I feel like I really grew there because of the relationships I built, the mentorship that I had, helped me grow in like the Word of God and my own personal relationship with God. And now these days, I'm like, I have my podcast. I'm like teaching my little family Bible study the first Saturdays of every month, live on my IG because don't nobody be showing up all the time. So I'm just like taking a step of faith to be like, I want people to know about Jesus, and I feel like how I treat people, I just try to show people the love of Jesus. Like, and hopefully your experience with me, because you know me for quite a long time.
It's been chaotic.
Hopefully it's been mostly positive.
Yeah. No, for sure. No.
So
that was a joke. I just want to.
I was concerned. I was like, maybe it wasn't. I'm sure there were moments, but the thing I like about Dom is I am always able to bring to her whatever my issue is. I don't think there's ever been an issue we haven't been able to talk about or talk through.
Okay, so you've come in Grace a couple times, and I just be like, what's this about? And then we'll have a conversation. Because I'm like, well, why didn't you just? Because I'm that person. And it's something that I'm working on. Like sometimes, like let's say we're arguing. I'm walking away because I'm like, I just need a second to regroup. It's no disrespect or anything. I don't want to say nothing that could potentially cause permanent damage. So if something happened in that event, like in that moment, it's like, like I can see if you needed a moment to process it because I'm the same way. But I'm like, don't be waiting 6 months to tell me nothing because then I probably forgot. And then I don't want to feel like I'm not empathetic or understanding to your feelings. But I'm like, I would like to know within like a week.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Yeah, I'm like, Tavishya. And he's like, what this happened? I said,
but okay. Give me a chance. I have done a lot of personal development over the recent years. So a lot of things and how I address things have changed. So I don't think that will happen anymore.
Yeah,
but
It's been a long time, but I was like, dang, like, what?
And how I would even come at people was always, oftentimes sideways. But yeah, but that's my ADHD though. Like, oh, it's a real thing. Like now I know, having that diagnosis, I know why I responded the way that I did. But now I also I can also say there's a bunch of situations where I could have taken back what I said, how I said it, when I said it. But I'm recognizing now that moving forward, I'll be better at it because I know why. I can like instinctively say, like, think about that first.
Yeah.
Like, oh, pray about that first.
Yeah.
So before,
because I'll say this, a lot of people don't think about the consequences or the reaction, because everything isn't a consequence. How people could respond to certain things because you just go and diving in here first, and it can alter the course of like a lot of things for you. So I can appreciate that. Where you're like, shit, like I really fucked up.
But in those situations, it's an opportunity to learn, bro. Mm-hmm. So I don't often, in the moment, I'm like, oh my God, it's so bad. But now I look at it like I had to go do that to get to where I am. I don't know that I would be here had I not had those experiences or those conversations. Because some things push you closer to God, some things push you further away from Him. That's how I look at most things. Mm-hmm. So when I'm going through situations, I'm like, God, what am I supposed to learn from this situation? And I oftentimes think about, because Jesus is the example for me. So I'm like, nobody should have more church hurt than Jesus because the Jews hung their own kind.
We couldn't.
Why? You can't say the Jews?
No, listen, ain't not about to be saying that. We said anything anti-Semitic.
Oh, God.
Like,
okay,
look.
Can I say
it's just a very rough climate right now.
That's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Listen, that's fair. I love the Lord. He heard my cry, but I'm not trying to get canceled before I start.
That's fair. He got a plan for me. But I'm just saying, like, he understands church hurt. Jesus understands church hurt. He experienced it himself.
Yeah.
So that's what I was trying to say. But I'm just saying, like, learning just what just happened just now, learning how to say things better is something I'm also. But it's like, oh, I can't say, oh, why? Oh, you're reminding me of what's been happening in the world, and I'm like, no. I'm saying, like, you can. I am a person who wants to be corrected. Come to me, like, there's plenty of times when Dom hit me up, be like, nigga, I need to talk to you, and I'll be like, oh man, what I do now? And like Dominique, she's not always gentle, but she's always honest.
I don't listen. I'm working on it.
It's okay.
I'm working on it. I'm really like. I don't. Because the issue that I've been having, I appreciate that, and I can receive that. And we like I said, we've been friends for like, what, damn near 20 years. Fudge.
She's like, yeah. Yes.
But some people can take that and think that I'm being like bitchy or mean.
And I did.
And I like that. Sometimes. Yo, like, there's no nice way to put this, and I'm not trying to give disclaimers, and stuff, but it's something that I'm like, look,
no, but I also have friends that don't do that at all.
Yeah.
So then I'm left to my own devices, and I'm left to figure out what those things are, and with my ADHD, it is very difficult to do that with information in my head that I'm kind of manifesting instead of just it being given to me or spoon fed to me. Even that's the best way. But I consider myself spoiled having friends like you, because you will be direct with me and be like, Tavishya, this is what you did, this is what I didn't like, and this is what I think you should do forward. I know exactly what I need to do, and I can choose to do it or I can choose not to do it.
Yeah.
So I don't get that grace all the time.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it when I do. So you've always been that person. Like I said, you weren't the most gentle person, but I can overlook the lack of gentleness and listen to what you're saying.
Oh, some people just get me.
You're silly.
It's hard though. It's hard. Like, even like, and I know Janelle's gonna listen to this. It's something that's like
your sister's like even more direct than you are.
See, Janelle.
You are like, but she'll say it with a smile. You'd be like, "What's that?" Sarcasm. Did you mean that from the guts? She's like how your sister says no. She's like, really, it's like there's a hard boundary there. When she's not going to do something, she's like, I'm not doing that. She's like saying, and then there's no room for conversation.
Like,
I love it.
Because Barnett literally said, you know, what I really love about you and your sister is that y'all don't take that shit and y'all don't play that shit. So it just be like,
that's what? Very true.
Like, so this is what it's gonna be. All right, cool. And then we like move on. He's like, when it comes to dating, like, y'all, none of that tussling, none of all that back and forth. And I was like, listen, you either fuck with me or you don't. And I know, like, I can't believe this is a church episode and you saying cuss words. The Lord knows me, and He knows my heart.
That He does.
And He gave me this mouth. So ultimately, and I the craziest thing is that I always tell people, I said, this is me. And I'm changing. I say not changing, because we all are always constantly evolving. Like that is
as we should.
Constant in life, and the goal is to always show up as the best version of ourselves, right? As we are growing and learning different things. So when I say this, just be who I am and take it. No, what I mean is that I'm always gonna be the better version of myself next time you see me. Right? I'm gonna be the same person. But okay.
So you say you have some questions for me?
Yeah, I have some questions. Okay. So how has this journey and you and this discovery changed you know, all around, like your interactions with people, your relationships?
So I'm not gonna ADHD you, but I will say, have you seen a change in me since when you met me in Webster until now?
I mean, I always felt like you were always really sweet, very. Now I haven't had to talk crazy to you in a while, so that's good. I can appreciate that. To be honest, you and I have never really had quarrels because we've always kind of talked it out. Like I said, no, I'm coming into your job, but you want to eat from Shake Shack, and let's talk. I was like, so, but I understood boundaries before you. I'm gonna think that I did.
No, you did.
Because I was like, I don't operate like this in my friendships because my friends, I look at y'all like my family. And y'all are my chosen family. Now, I don't be messing with the blood brothers, but we're not about to fall out. You know what I mean? So I think I was always kind of very straightforward with all my friends about how I wanted to be treated. You know, to also understand how they needed to be treated, knowing that I could talk to you one way. I can't talk to Kendra like that. I could talk to Barney, me and Barney just get it. And Barney, even if I'm having something crazy happen, Barney just gets me and I'm like, okay, friend, like best friend. And by the time I probably even get him on the phone, I probably cried and I was like, man, I was on look. Somebody was fussing, they pissed me off, and I was like, you know what, it's fine. But that's just how we are. We just get it. But I would say that I am interested because we haven't spent as much time. We used to spend a lot of time together. But with our work schedules and everybody, you know, pushing forward in their goals, we don't connect as much as we used to. And so I would hope that would change. Like this.
I was just going to ask you that. Would you like more of me?
Yeah, because you got a dog niece in there.
I do.
On her. Hey! Yeah. Sorry.
So,
but yes, I would say I'm interested to spending more time with you to fully see everything because, like, I always felt like Tavishya's reliable. Tavishya is a good friend. You can talk to her about anything. Are either one of us perfect? No. But it's a process. It's a process. And so I'm interested in seeing, especially now knowing what you know about yourself. And now that also requires from your friends and your peers, you know, we always give people grace, but it's just like, okay, understanding. And if it is somebody that you could have potentially said something outlandish to if they ever listen or whomever, like in our circle of friends, like, you know, they could be like, oh shit, like, well, when you did this, and it's like, okay, well, it's in the past. Like, I'm a new person going forward. Allow me to fully show up as myself because I'm still learning and understanding myself. I don't know if I've talked in a circle, but yeah.
I've just learned in recent years. I think I've learned to be patient with myself and with people, and to know that even though the situation may present itself as a bad, because I learned most about myself in conflict.
Okay.
So in situations where I have conflict, I want to make sure that I'm approaching it like honestly like Jesus would. Like be like, all right, how can I do this and not leave a scar? Like how can I navigate this conversation or this person with, and sometimes there is no beef. It's just like your communication isn't great.
Yeah. No,
so
that's true.
So you're like, how do I navigate this and not being this new Christian woman that I'm trying to walk in this Christian lifestyle? How do I represent Jesus in that walk daily?
Yeah.
So everything that I do, I'm trying to do it in my job, I'm trying to do it in my relationship, I'm trying to do it with my parents, I'm trying to do it with myself, every aspect of my life. And I've just learned to just be patient, give myself grace, and be willing to humble myself and apologize, and really take into consideration how what I do makes someone else feel.
Yeah.
Because my ADHD, I don't always understand. Like it's happening, and I'm like trying to put together the pieces. Like, what is that? Why did this thing make this person feel this way?
Yeah.
Why did that similar situation happen to this person? Like, what is going on with them that's not going on with them? Like, I'm in my mind a lot.
Yeah.
Trying to be better. Like it's all in efforts to be better.
Do you feel like it's like a lot of pressure?
No. Okay. I don't feel like it's pressure. I feel like it's important.
Okay.
So maybe it's weird. Cause I don't look at it as pressure.
Yeah.
Like it's important that I get it right.
Yeah.
But I know I'm not gonna get it right all the time. But if the goal is to get it right most of the time, then I feel like I'm still pushing for it.
But also I feel like, okay, so my question is like when it comes to like the humanness, because we are not perfect, right? So like what does that look like? Like if you did something or something is to happen or you say something, like what does that look like? Because I feel like Christianity does make us strive to be perfect.
I think on paper it does make you strive to be perfect, but for me, what you're really striving to do is just to please God.
Okay.
In whatever you do, how you say it, when you say it, everything. So when you're striving to be like Jesus, which is a huge pedestal to fill, you just try to. It's kind of like baby steps. I don't know if I'm answering your question though. Like, can you give me an example?
You was answering my question.
Oh, okay, good.
I get it. So I'm thinking of it from this aspect of, excuse me, where it's like, and I'm not saying that it's impossible, but I'm just looking at it. It's just like where pressure could probably be released because at the end of the day, it's just leading with love. And I feel like, and though that is easier also said than done, because there are going to be people that you're going to want to cuss out on the road, and I do it. But it's like where it matters, right? And where you could potentially also logically take a moment and take a step back before you even make certain actions.
Yeah.
So part of it, like I said, I think part of it as a whole view of everything is just kind of just being able to discern. It's not just being able, I want to be right, because what is right? Because your rightness, could be somebody that's wrong, right? And so you kind of have to build this life that kind of like works for you, but this is very stressful. I'm like,
nah, it's not stressful. It's like I look at it as something to aspire to. Like I said, if I'm gonna believe the Bible, I'm gonna believe everything the Bible says, and I want to do what it says do. And one of the things it does say is to love everybody, love people as love yourself, love your neighbor as yourself, love God first. And if you can do all those things, you can fulfill God's law. Now, that's not always important to people, but it's important to me.
All right.
So if I'm doing that, if I'm loving myself, if I give myself grace, I've learned that how I treat myself, I treat other people. So in all those moments I was having conflict, I was probably
projected.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was just like, when I started reading, when I started reading, I was like, my homegirl gave me books. I was like,
things that happen in the world, right? In any interpersonal, in any relationship, we don't teach that enough. Where that love starts with you. Now, it's even when it comes, it's what even mothers are now getting like understanding, because like, okay, yes, we leave love, but like when we like are neglecting ourselves, like we can't show up for other people. It's the same concept, and you see it happening in so many other avenues that they tell you on the plane, and you got to say yourself first before you try to say somebody else, right? So it's like the same thing that's like reiterated in different formats like over and over again. And so I think that a lot of people and a lot of the issues that we have in society is because a lot of people don't love themselves.
No,
because they don't know they don't know what it looks like. They were never taught that. They were never conditioned.
And it's difficult to do.
It
like if you haven't done it, if you haven't practiced it, if you haven't like
it starts at childhood.
No, for sure. If you didn't intentionally do it, if you weren't groomed to do that, then you learn it as an adult, and you was like, I am like, but you're not. Like I thought I always loved myself until people pointed things out about me that I did not see in myself. But clearly I was projecting. And I was like, oh, my little daddy issues. And I was just like, oh, that's abandonment trauma. That's, lack of communication trauma. That's like, and I'm like, oh, okay. And for me, once I realized something, I'm always working on that thing. So when you say, oh, there's pressure, I'm just like, yeah, because I have so many things I'm trying to keep track of, and I don't want to forget them because of my ADHD. But I'm just saying, like, it over time, it becomes more natural.
Yeah. So
yes, in the beginning, when I really, could you imagine me, like if I would have discovered all these things and like the next day I'm like, Lord, I got a lot of work to do. I thought I was a good person.
Yeah.
But I was just, and I am, but there's still a lot of work to do.
Say they're a good person or not a good person. I'm just kidding. No. We always see the case.
No, we didn't.
No, but okay, so let me rephrase that. We all always have work to do. So I want to reiterate.
But knowing what the work is.
Yeah, it's a process. No, and sometimes you just don't know. Like I literally had a conversation with someone, and they said that I was like, I've been meeting to them for some months, and I was just like, really? For some months? I was like, why are we hanging out? All jokes aside, though, I said, if you felt like there was something happening or there was a disconnect, I'm not saying it's a you problem, because that's not what I'm saying. I said, but it's up to you to be like, what's going on? Because I'm seeing a shift. I don't know if you want to talk about it, if it's something that I can help with, but sometimes we are having internal battles with ourselves, and we don't know how that's coming out to the person or anybody. And it's like, I am, and sometimes somebody being just saying, are you okay? And you say no, or I'm okay, and that's okay. Because we all experience emotions, feelings, life. Oh my God, like you said, you might be right, you gotta think of crazy, but ultimately it's that knowing that you have the support and people there that you can, if they are emotionally in the space to unpack whatever you're about to say. But just knowing that, because sometimes we feel like we don't have nobody to talk to. So, and then it's like, you call me and I'm like, well, what is it, Tavishya? And I'm not trying to be mean. It's just like, shit, I'm just having a shitty week.
I know enough about you to not internalize any kind of tone that you made.
I mean, listen.
And I'm just like, I like your colorfulness.
Listen, like, I think people are not used to being people one like me. That's okay. But I've noticed, especially out here, people think tone or attitude, and it's just normal voice inflection because we're from the Midwest, and everybody, I think everybody expects us to be flat, but it's like, no, I'm excited. Like why are you mad that I'm excited?
A lot of how you interact is like how my mom was on my sister.
Yeah.
So that's my norm. Like my standard issue. Like that's what I'm used to. Like the women, like I'm not like that, but they are. So I get that because that's what I grew up with. Yeah. So when other people come out here, you're like, oh, you're so mean. Like, am I? Because my sister said people, we said call her mean. I said, you're so sweet. And she's like, I know.
She's more colorful than me.
She is. But when it's brought up out of her,
yeah,
like she's cool most of the time until a situation happens and she is colorful than she was before.
Yeah, honestly, I don't even think. Okay, so when you say colorful, what does that mean? Because I think it.
Like in your so feisty in your tone, and you don't walk around like that. It's like something's happening, and that's how you project. But you don't mean it to the person you're projecting it to, unless you're targeting them. But like I said, for example, when I told you, you don't always say things the most gentle way, but I don't take offense to how you say it. I pay attention to what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm really spicy because Johnny calls me spicy.
Yeah.
And then another guy said that I was
but like I said, my mom and my sister are like this. So that type of talk I am used to. But not everyone is.
I wouldn't even say that, and to me, it's just me just knowing what I want and I just say what it is.
You should.
And I feel that sometimes people should just be able to just. We don't always. Everything don't need to be sugarcoated.
Nope.
Because just that's not life. And so I'm like, you should be happy that I know. Like I think that, and when it comes from men, I think it's more of a thing where they like sometimes are used to dealing with women, and not that being docile is like a bad thing, but that just let them do that, and it's no recourse for them. And I'm like, what you think this is? And, and I pick and choose too, because I don't, I let some shit slide, and I just because I know there's gonna be an argument. I don't even feel like it today, but for the most part, men. I'll say this: it's only been black men that said that's me. And I've dated interracially a lot, and I've always shown up like this in every corner of my life, and it's only been black men that said this. And I don't want y'all to judge me in the comments when I say that, but it's only been that where I've been very direct, and then it's met with you're sassy, you're spicy, more so recently, very particular. And you asked me a question, and I told you what I was not in the mood for, and then you still did. Why would you do that? So I'm like, are you really? Is this a test?
No, I'm not surprised that black men do that, because it's either that or you're too emotional, or there's always some kind of caveat to a black woman. You can't just be like, not the perfect girl, but just like a woman, like a strong woman, a powerful woman, a helpful woman, whatever. It's always like sassy, you're emotional, and it's just like the complaints are very similar and common amongst black men. And I just be like, are you too sensitive to just handle a regular person? That's what I think.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of heavily, deeply rooted racism,
mama issues, racism, whatever you want.
And it's funny because the mama daddy issues, as we are, as people are dating and you're talking to people about different stuff and learning, even friends, I'm like, it's crazy how certain things can show up in people and they're not even like privy to, like they're not even aware. Because sometimes you get people that overcompensate, you get people that reject, and it's really crazy. So, but on your journey, like, what is that like dating? You kind of was talking about stuff the other day.
You was like, don't say anything else.
Don't say nothing else. We'll save it for the show.
For the show. She stopped me dead in my tracks, y'all. I was telling Dom about a friend of mine who's like my best friend. He is someone I grew up with, and he was, I think he was my first love. I'm pretty sure. So let's go with that.
You say your first time?
Both. My first love, my first time. I was like, what? So he I'm
like, make sure we get this off.
Right, no, for sure. He told me, like, you know, if you in a way, he said, if you'll have me, I'd marry you. You're the type of woman I would want to
marry. Okay.
And I was like, dang. We've been through a lot over the years. We're not gonna go through all of our drama, but just know that we've had many good times and many bad times, and we've always been able to work through them.
Okay.
Kicking and screaming, but we work through, and now our relationship is better than it ever has been. It's healthy.
Okay.
More important than anything, and we've both grown into like better people. Okay. I don't. It could be because of each other, but it's also because of the personal things, development that we've done on ourselves, aside from being friends with them. But I was just like, the only problem with that is you don't love Jesus. Like, you don't follow Jesus. You're not a Christian. And I don't know what religion he practices, but for me to marry outside of my religion is marrying someone who was not equally yoked to me. Our core values are not the same. So I would never marry someone who isn't, because I feel like if I'm following Jesus and you're my man, you're supposed to be getting me closer to him, not pulling me further away. So, and I told him that. He was just like, for a long time, he was just like, well, I'm not changing who I am because I was just like, no, I don't want you to. I want you to, because this is your journey. Like, you need to go the way that you feel is good for you. But recently, he's just like, you know what? Let's talk about Jesus. And I'm like, are you trying to bag a nigga?
So, okay. I want to. So, this hypothetical. This person can be everything that you want, and this is the one place where it doesn't line up.
Yeah.
Isn't it also our job to still love people, but also kind of lead people there? So what if that is your role?
I'm glad you said that. I think it might be. But we have a meeting on Wednesday.
Okay, not a meeting.
Let's call it a Bible study.
Okay.
Because for a long time that was off the table because he didn't want to. Like, I don't know how I brought it up, but I was just like, I mean, yeah, if you look, he's like, that's not the only thing. I was just like, because we never, yes, we've been intimate, but we've never like dated. Mm-hmm. So if I've never dated you, like, yes, I could probably see you as a husband, but I want to get wine and dine. So I want the red carpet. Like, I don't want to settle for, well, you're already my best friend. You already know me in ways that no one else does. That's not good enough.
Yeah, no, because that sounds like settling. We don't want to settle.
Yes. And he was okay with that because he knows me so well and I know him so well. He was just like, it makes sense. I'm like, on paper, yes, it makes sense, but I want to go through the process. I'm not skipping no steps. And I was just like, that's where people get caught up. They don't do the work. They don't spend that time together. And he lives back home. He lives in St. Louis, so. Not to say he wouldn't make the trips or I wouldn't make the trips, but I was just like, I don't think that that's where we are right now.
Yeah.
But let's say we do a couple Bible studies and his heart, but that's on him. All that growth, and if he wants to follow you, that's all up to him. I can't make anyone do that. That's a Holy Spirit thing. He come in, he changes you, and then you be like, oh, Jesus, that's my guy. But then, but right now we're just having a conversation, and I can say that this conversation was never had. And it was something he brought to. I brought it to his attention because one of my mentors was like, well, maybe you should ask him. I never did. I thought we had this conversation. All the conversations we had over the years, I never said anything. And then I was just like, all right, cool. And I did. He was like, yeah, I'd be interested in that. He was like, but you're also, if I'm going to learn about your religion, you need to learn about mine. I said, you know what? That's fair.
Yeah.
So I was just like, let's do it. So I guess it's happening on Wednesday.
What is his religion? Is he just more spiritual? Like,
he is more spiritual. I think he closely identifies with Buddhism, but he also likes to pick different things from different religions to kind of make his own. So if I had to pick one, I would say closest to Buddhist, but also like some kind of African religion, the different gods in Africa or something. I'm just unfamiliar to say to you.
I respect you and appreciate you being open to that, because some people it's just like a hard no.
It is. We did go into it like, I mean, I ain't gonna believe what you believe. You ain't gonna believe what I believe. I said, but we haven't had the conversation.
Yeah.
We don't know what's gonna happen having had the conversation.
Right.
And also, at the very least, we learn that we share intimate, we share like friendship, we share like family, like we know each other. This is an area where we've never discovered anything about each other. So is it going to bring us closer to God, or is it going to bring us closer to each other? Like we don't know. So I'm interested.
And sometimes every person, this might not be your person. It might not be, but y'all are both just good friends, and y'all are, exploring different things and just helping each other learn and grow. Because friendships are also, you hate when I say it, but friendships are literally everything in life is transaction. It sounds very abrasive, but it really is.
So I'm not trying to be abrasive.
Yeah, but it's just that like it just everybody. So if you're making withdrawals, like that friend also has to be making deposits. It's that simple. And so y'all's it just might be the friendship account. We talked about it ultimately, and you might even learn like, or he might learn like, like Tavishya, we might be better off as friends, or I don't like that. Like, I don't know if I can, and those things happen, but you've never also tried to date this person. I just was interested. It's like, because I'm like, I don't know. I think I love so much, and I love loving people that I don't know if I would, as long as the person was like, believed in something like was spiritual or whatever, and we could have those conversations. But I don't know if I would, and I don't know, because I know that God wants us to experience love. Am I willing to like miss out on opportunity because somebody is unsure, but I could kind of like shift the narrative? I don't know.
As far as like someone's core values.
Yeah, because I think I don't know. I've never experienced that. I know like Johnny grew up Jehovah's Witness, but he's not practicing, and I still have friends of Jehovah. So it's just, I think everybody has their journey that they go on. So I don't know.
And we're a part of each other's journey.
Yeah.
So this is the whole, whatever's going to happen on Wednesday is like
a new chapter.
A new chapter. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it, because I was just like, what kind of Christian would I be? And a lot of Christians probably don't even do this, but if I didn't learn about other religions, like it seems a little bit like,
well, a lot of stuff is, we have a lot more in common than what we think.
No,
because just the name for the higher power is something different. You have Allah, you have Buddha, like different things that where people, they just call their deity something else. Yeah. So
I think it's important for Christians to, and this is me encouraging you, learn of other religions, because you can't talk about something that you don't know.
That's true.
So if you don't learn, and then again, use it as an opportunity to teach them about yours, but be willing to be on the other side receiving from them as well. No, like, I feel like I don't see that enough, because they probably don't think it's important enough. It's like, I mean, I believe in Jesus. I don't believe in Jesus. I need to talk to them. I was just like, that's so traditional, and everybody knows that the Pharisees were traditional, and they did not inherit the kingdom. So
yeah, they did not. So with that said, tell the people where they can find your podcast.
So I am currently only on YouTube. I'll probably expand that this year, but it is Church Hurt with Tavishya. Church Hurt Podcast with Tavishya on YouTube. My name is spelled Tabishya, and that's my also handle on all platforms.
And I'll also put it in the notes, in the description, and be sure to like, subscribe, and share her podcast with everyone, just like you would with this one. And don't forget, I got all y'all candles needs, so y'all need to buy some candles. And we're going into the spring, like spring cleaning. I'm slowly doing that now. So like, let's start early. Like, get your house smelling good before you dust and whatever it is that you do. Do all the things to get your house right for the holiday, the spring season. And again, be sure to like, subscribe, and share Whiskey Sour, as well as Everyone Needs an Aquarius, because y'all do. And wherever you podcast. So thank you so much for coming, Tavishya. And
I knew this was going to be a good time.
Yeah, I like I said, I was confident that it would be, and we have to get an episode because I know stuff about you. We're gonna have to get you and Darren on an episode together.
You know stuff about me?
Yeah, I know stuff about you
that I don't know. You know?
Probably not. No, I don't know. I'm pretty sure you. Yeah.
I was like, you probably know an awful lot.
Yeah. So, like I said, I would love to have you back as you grow on your journey and just want to connect with more people. So we'll always be right here on the YouTube and Spotify and Apple Podcasts, wherever you podcast. So see y'all here next week.
So this exports a